Hello, apni sai ase HornbillTV la on live bulletin. Nagaland do ekta dry state ase aru itu dry state hua do Nagaland de NLTP noile Nagaland Liquor Total Prohibition Act kane ase. Aru itu topic te bishi deri bra debate kurigina ai thakya. Nagaland Liquor Total Prohibition Act upor ekta dangor development ekta aise. Source logo de jani paise ki cabinet meeting law de itu act kundu bra state te mudu bikawale bon kure itu partially hatai dibole nishna ase. Sources logo de jani paise ki itu aibole la Nagaland Legislative Assembly monsoon session de NLTP Act table kurbole ase. Nagaland Sarkar spokesperson aru Minister KG Kenya Prabi media khan ge kotha kura homoy kuise aha monsoon session de NLTP Act to revisit kurbo kile mane Nagaland do itu sector de revenue bishi loss hoye ase kuise. Act to 1989 de dhalise aru itu laga hisab te IMFL alcohol la production manufacture aru consumption bon kure. Itu lode kinya sale kuria aro rukhya bi bonus aro aji Hornbill TV la live bulletin de itu Nagaland Legislative Assembly khan itu monsoon session de itu NLTP Act revisit kurbole la upor de mokhan ge join kuri ase ground pra mokhan la reporter adona ase aro newsroom de mokhan la associate editor anguli tai bi ase tai khan lo de jaigina itu NLTP Act to NLA bra 1989 pichide takhan revisit kurbole ase itu bi Nagaland Legislative Assembly kun Legislative Assembly la ekta power ase ki takhan law legislate kuro pare to itu la upor de manukhan la ground situation noilibi manukhan la hopes kan kiman khuligina ase aru itu ekta topic ase kundo hodai CSOs noilibi personal opinion khan bi bishi ministers noilibi MLAs noilibi advisors khan ba share kurigina ase to itu la upor de olop kotha kuri sao first mogan associate editor anguli lode jao aro tai labi itu especially all of a sudden noilibi ekta shocking noili ekta surprising kotha ki Nagaland Legislative Assembly to itu NLTP Act la upor de revisit kuro la upor de kotha kuri sao good morning sir thank you so much for joining me on live. First of all do you think that it's a surprise that the Nagaland cabinet in a meeting yesterday has decided in their agenda for the coming monsoon session that they will revisit the NLTP Act that was implemented in the state of Nagaland in 1989 through which Nagaland is now a dry state. So what are your thoughts? Do you feel that the government is becoming a little progressive? Do you think that the minds are slowly starting to open, especially regarding this, and this topic is no more a taboo?
Yeah, I talked to my cousin's office yesterday and I asked them if they've actually met and if the cabinet actually met and they decided whether they should be lifting the act. And I think Akivi, frankly, I think it's more or less a done affair because first thing, we don't have opposition. So when you say that the cabinet in principle has decided on lifting it, but the idea that they are going to take the matter to the assembly is just a formality, Akivi. So in my discussions with him, I just got the idea that these guys in the cabinet, they have already decided it. And if they're going to discuss it in the state assembly, it's just going to be one of those very administrative sounding, very policy sounding exercise, but in principle I think it's already a done affair in this regard when you talk of lifting the NLTP Act. Now to your question, Akivi, I think Nifirio has always been aware that when he first became the Chief Minister of Nagaland way back in 2008, I think one of the contentions about bringing the state out of its financial morass was not in establishing industries because that would take a very long time. An extensive amount of financial resources have to be invested in building industries. But the easiest way for you to actually start making money for your state and your state exchequer was to just release what we now blame, that single instrument that we blame the state's financial troubles on, that is the Prohibition Act. And I think over the past many years, people have come to have this image of the Prohibition Act as the culprit that is standing in the way of Nagaland's progress. Now the argument has always been that Oh no, because we don't have this act in place and because it's not open, we are losing revenue. And I think that is a very short-sighted view of progress, financial accountability, or state revenue as we see here. So I think, yeah, there might be people who will be celebrating this, especially people who use alcohol in that sense, and even the financial stalwarts in the department who feel that this will bring a lot of revenue, but that is only a tiny bit of the story of Nagaland IKV. Well, it is true that it is also no longer a taboo for the government because they also have been, I believe, listening into the conversations of the community, especially during the past 10 years. During the past 10 years, the 10 years of this government. And it was during the early 2000s that the community started having this conversation about lifting the act. And I think the crescendo of this conversation was during the urban local body elections in Nagaland. So that was the crescendo where I think there were even some candidates, I believe, according to the conversations that I have had, there were some people who, some candidates who even promised that they will work toward lifting the Prohibition Act. So I think it is true that it is no more a taboo for us, but it is also not indicative that the government or the community is progressive. When you talk about progress, it's a very complex and a complicated issue, and it should not be measured in terms of an industry. It could be bamboo, it could be alcohol, it could be the media. I think that will be very short-sighted, but definitely one thing is very sure by what we have been seeing and what developments are taking place in the state government among the cabinet members. I think the move is more forward in this regard.
Right. Ita mukan la reporter adona kun ground de ase tai lo de bi connect kurigna manukan ground la itu khobor pa pichi de takan la bi point of view kina ase itu bi jani pao. Morning, good morning adona, thank you for joining me on live. Apni ita kote ase aro kali ekta itu cabinet meeting law de ekta Nagaland sarkar ba aro takan la spokesperson kun minister bi ase Minister KG Kenya bra kuise ki itu NLTP Act to takan itu aha monsoon session kun 27th August te shuru hole se itu NLTP Act 1989 do revisit kurbole se apni labi apna journey thaka time de apni bi itu topic especially NLTP Act apni jaga de jaigna apni manokan lo de kotha kurigna ase aro tate itue noigna tate takan la point of view bi loigna ase to itula opor de apni itu khobor do takan pa do kina sai ase public kan bi hi Adona, can you hear me? Alright, we seem to have some technical glitch, but we will get back to Adona, who is there on the ground. He is in town, and also he will be telling us what the public opinion of the people of Nagaland, especially Dimapur, is with regards to NLTP Act of 1989, and that the cabinet is wanting to discuss and revisit the act. Alright, so coming back to you, since we've got some technical issues in connecting with Adona, coming back to the NLTP Act, the NBCC General Secretary Keho has even come on Hornbill TV and he said that the NLTP Act was well made, but the NBCC too could not verify it step by step. That is why the act has now become a little defunct. So in this regard, do you feel that there is going to be more opposition from the civil society organizations that during 1989 it was the Naga Mothers Association and the NBCC that actually pivoted the role of making sure that Nagaland remains a dry state? Do you think that such opposition is now going to be voiced out quite openly and publicly? We apologize for the technical delay, but now we are back with our reporter Adona, who's there on the ground, and we will connect with him and find out the public opinion, or rather, what the people have to say that the NLA in this upcoming monsoon session that starts on the 27th of August, the cabinet has decided to revisit the Nagaland Liquor Total Prohibition Act of 1989. Adona, can you hear me? Good morning. Hello, Adona.
Hi, good morning. Okay.
तो काली एकता कैबिनेट मीटिंग नागालैंड सरकार ला कैबिनेट मीटिंग दे ताते एकता डांगर खुलासा ऐसे नोइल भी एकता सोर्स पा जानी पाइसे कि आरो नागालैंड स्पोक्स पर्सन ताई बाबी मिनिस्टर केजी केनिया बाबी कोई गिना से कि इतु आहा मॉनसून सेशन दे असेंबली दे इतु NLTP Act 1989 दो रिविजिट करवो कोई ना आरो अपनी लगा इतु करियर दे अपनी भी इतु ला NLTP Act ला ऊपर दे अपनी भी बेशी ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट खान करी गिना से ताते मानु खान ला ओपिनियन खान भी लुई गिना से तो इतु खबर हुना पीछे दे मानु खान ग्राउंड दे भी ताखान ला आखा दो की ऐसे ना
से सब मानु लगा आखा तो मोए कबो ना पारबो होइले भी खा मानु ना खा मानु भी आसे 50-50 आसे तो होय इनेका इतिया कैबिनेट मीटिंग जोआ काली इनेका मीटिंग करे केना इता केजी केने इतु नागालैंड स्पोक्स पर्सन प्रा इतु ताकान NLTP Act टू आरो रिविजिट करिबो लागे आरो मॉनसून सीजन ते ताकान करिबो कोय आसे तो इनेका खबर हुना लागा तो खा मानु का निमित्त तो एकता बाल खबर निसना हे बिसी एकता पॉजिटिव निसना हे लोआ मानु भी आसे आरो ऑन द अदर साइड चर्च लगा साइड फाले प्रा आसे बोले तो एकता कंसर्न इतु जुदी NLTP Act टू पार्शियली होइले भी हटाई दिसु गले तो सब हटाई दिया निसना ही होबो कोइना इतु एकता कुंबा अलग साइड फाले भी इनेका कोय आसे होइले भी इतु NLTP Act टू मुआन जना निसना पहिला 1989 ब्रा इतु एनेक्ट करिगना आहा तु टोटल फेलियर एकता भी इतु मेकानिज्म नोइले भी इम्प्लीमेंट करिगना नाहा निमिते ही इटा मोस्ट ऑफ द पब्लिक आरो कुंबा सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होइले भी इतु सब ते नहोइले भी कुंबा जगह certain areas te aro certain district especially like Dimapur de to NLTP Act to hatai dibi koigina state government ke bi appeal kura laga ase to itu Nagaland te NLTP Act taka to the good the bad aro the ugly bi ase kira mane naka manu kan nimide to NLTP Act laga tu bal hi ase kintu naka manu kintu kha manu kan nimide to NLTP Act laga tu ताका निमिते बिया आसे किले माने मुदु तु आलदाल ट्रेक मुदु काय आसे इतु अपोर्टे भी दाम बिसी होइना काय आसे तो खा मानु का निमिते तु द बैड आसे अरो द अगली तु कोइले मोन नागालैंड ते स्पेशली दिमापुर होबे अलग अलग जगह ते दुकान ते एको सामान नातागिले भी ताते सेल तु सबसे बिसी हो जाए अरो इतु अपोर्टे मोन एकता खबर जानि पातु याते दिमापुर दे सबसे एकता चेकिंग करिबोले मानुहे पुलिस अरो IRB कान पुजुर इतु लाइन होटल ते पुजुर दे आइगना ताका लास्ट ईयर लयगना बुक ते साइन करिगना खुदाय दिन कलेक्शन करि ताके तो इतु खबर हुनिसे गले तो चेक करुले मानुहे ताका लगा ड्यूटी लगा शेयर लयना खुदाय दिन पुजुर दे इतु मला पिछि दे ताका खुदाय ताकान आइना क्वार्टर लयना हाफ लय नाजने होले भी ताका लास्ट ईयर लयना बुक ते साइन करि गइसे तो माने इतु आगे दे क्वान इसना इतिया लेजिस्लेटर्स कान होले भी बिसी बाक्तु ताला ओपिनियन भी कोय आसे बालप्रा इतु इम्प्लीमेंट को ना पारे फेलियर आसे कोय ना भी कुमा मनु एक्सेप्ट भी आसे तो इतु NLTP Act टू हटाई दिले बालोबो इतु भी कोयगना आइ आसे आरो मोन एकता वोकली मोन लगा एडवाइजर मुआतो सी ताइब्रा भी कोय ताके काइसी गुले तु खा मनु के तु बाल मुदु खाबी खावले दिबी इतु भी ताइ भी एकता ताइ लगा ओपिनियन भी पारिले NLTP Act तो हटाई दिले बालोबो इतु भी इतु शेयर करिगना आला से तो मॉनसून सीजन ते तागान इतु NLTP Act टू रिविजिट करिगना तागान इतु पार्शियली हटाई दिबोले भी इतु खोता खो गासे तो किंतु इता तक तो हटाई दिबो कयगना इता कन्फर्मेशन तो नाइ होइले भी मोस्ट लाइकली होबो निसना से इतु ला खोता खवासे तो इतु खबर जोआ खाली इतु खवा पिचिते तो कुमा मनु खा मनु ने तो खा मनु का निमिति तो बाल आसे बाल खबर आसे कबो हटाई दिसे गले तो अलप सस्ता भी हो और मुदु बाल भी खावले पारिबो इतु हे एकता ओपिनियन आसे किंतु कोइन भी दुटा साइड तका निस्ता कुमा का निमिति तो एकता कंसर्न भी तका निस्ता कंसर्न भी इतु एकता कंसर्न तखे ला भी मान हुनि पासे आके
now coming back to you sir, can you hear me sir? Now coming back to our associate editor, Al, so you had just said that, and we heard Minister KG Kenye's statement yesterday in which he said that one of the reasons why the NLA is deciding to revisit the NLTP Act is the loss of revenue. Well, Nagaland is one of the few unique states in India which is a dry state. Well, we've got Bihar, we've got Gujarat too, which is a dry state. But in those states, we hear a lot of a tragedy called the Hooch tragedy. So do you believe that with the, and especially on the revenue aspect of it, if you look at it, September 1st, the Assam Excise Department has taken out a notification in which the Assam government has decided to reduce the prices of liquor due to the looking at the oncoming festive season, which is due in October and November. Do you believe that this statement made by the Nagaland legislative, or rather the minister, holds true? Because in the past, in the previous Chief Minister Nifirio's government, we had KT Sukalu, who was the advisor of school education, and at that point of time, the schools in Nagaland were under heavy scrutiny, in which he said that since Nagaland is we don't have any source of revenue, and that he would speak to his Chief Minister Nifirio so that the revenues that come through the excise could be inserted into the school sector, could be inserted into the infrastructure sector, could be inserted into the basic overall development sector. So isn't this a pragmatic solution for a state that has no revenue?
Respectfully, I think it's a very bad excuse for the government to be actually using liquor. And I'm not supporting, or I'm not condemning it either, because this is a policy decision that they're going to be making. But like I said, respectfully, I think it's a very, very poor excuse to use liquor as an excuse to deflect from your own failures. How much revenue do we need to be able to cover the entire state of Nagaland and its many sectors: education, roads, electricity, water, security, infrastructure, energy? And I think it is just, personally I feel it is just a deflection from the many issues that we're facing right now: unemployment, infrastructural problems that we're having, and of course corruption. And all these issues that we have been facing for the past about 10 years now, 15 years now. And I think this occasion is being used as a screen for us to divert our attention somewhere else. Yes, it is true that it can generate a little bit of revenue, but it won't be enough. The state of Assam, for example, they generate about, if I'm not mistaken, in 2017, 2018, they generated about 1 crore 56 lakh per day, which is about 3,650, 60 in a year. And it jumped during 2021. It went all the way to about 400 something crores. And Nagaland, when the act was first introduced, I think the revenue was somewhere in the area of 5 to 400 crores. And of course it has gone down now because it is now a dry state. So first thing, we have to understand that it wouldn't be enough to develop the state of Nagaland. I think this is something we should remember. The outlay of Nagaland is now, in 2008 and 2007, it was somewhere in the region of, the state outlay was in the region of 1,700 crore. And I reported on this also. Now it is in the region of about 430 crore, 4,040 crores to at least 5. So we're talking about a revenue about of 1 or 2 crores to develop the entire state of Nagaland through liquor. I think what we're doing here is we're trying to deflect attention away from our failures. We're trying to occupy the minds of the people with something else. There are a lot of other problems that we have been facing in Nagaland, and most of which are still unresolved. Look at the explosion culture, look at the gun culture, who is addressing them? Look at the unemployment issues in Nagaland, who is taking care of them? So I think, now yes, it might bring a little bit of revenue, but I don't think this is the solution to Nagaland's problem, Akive.
Alright, এতিয়া aduna এতিয়া mokanla associate editor ba tai bi ekta important point raise kurise ki itu issue NLTP aro tate clearance khan dise kule aro ekta spare ulai nolbi ekta scope for increase in corruption আর তাতে এটোৱে নইগনা আলাগ মামলা বি বেশি আছে হলিবি NLTP Act তো নাগা মানু কানে তো একটা বেশি ইউনিক আছে কিলে কইলে 50% তো তাখান দো হাটাই দিবি কয়েছে 50% তো রাখিবি কয়েছে তাতে মোখান না স্ট্রং সিভিল সোসাইটি অর্গানাইজেশনস খান বি এটো অ্যাক্ট তো থাকিব লাগে কইগনা তাখান বি প্রটেক্ট করব লাগে আর ইমপ্লিমেন্টেশনই তাতে ফেল হওয়া দো এটোই ভালবা চেক করব লাগে তো আপনারা হিসাব দেবি এটা তো সাপোজ নাগাল্যান্ড গভর্নমেন্ট নইলে নাগাল্যান্ড সরকার বা তাখান দো এটো partially lift kuri dise tate licensing system ayo so itula upor dibi tate manukan la apprehensions ki ase do you think itu partially lift kurabi ekta nutun window die ase aro corruption la increase hole
see itu lift kurilibi na kurilibi icha present scenario te Nagaland te iku differences to tagato muan dikipanai time to time koi rasta te kumba excise department gan rasta te check kuribo time to time sudden kumba hotel tande raid kuribo itu hi ase differences to ita sub open security ase police manuhe aigena yate pujor de aina tagana nijer share loina khai ase to ki kuri dibo ita koi morality la side saise bole muan ase Christian state itu NLTP Act to poila pra itu lagaile bal hobo koigena hi itu main tu ekta bal concept loigena letra na hobo nimite iku inega jamla budu kaisi bole jamla na bole itu laga ekta hisab ti hi bal nimite hi NLTP Act to implement koina aise kintu itia implement kurigena more than 3 decades itia ahi ase to implementing agency sobi state government hoilibi iku ekta strict action loina itu bal pra implement kura labi nohoy itu bi parabi na paraina ase to itia partially leave kuru golebi hoy partially leave kurisi gole to leave kura nisnai hobo kile mane itia NLTP Act takabra takya time tibi itia bi open ase to leave kurise na kurise la khota tu nai he na itia leave kura nisnahi ita partially hoise gole leave kura nisna ase holebi hoy ekta side fale saisi gole aro itia tar monsoon season te Nagaland assembly election assembly te takan discuss to kuribula ase hole pressure to bisi aibo kile mane on the other side NBCC church body gambi itia takan poila pra against kurina ahanis na itia bi muan itu this time monsoon season te bi takan itu decision lobo parbo na nai itu he ekta kota ase kel aro itia ground reality te to itu implement pola pra koase implement kurisi gole bal pra implement kuribi na parisi gole to hathai dile bal hobo koase to itia kine ki koi dibo legislatures kan tagan itia oppositionless government ase sob manu bi majority ase tagan ki kobo itu hisab te follow kurile balobo koi tagile bi in practical to hwa he nai NBCC noile bi church body kan bi sob dikhi ase तो implementing agencies to सब state government ने चुला उला से तो ताका ना ओपोर्टे की decision लोबो इतु हे मुआन एक बार रुकी के ना है पिछिते इतु leave हुआ पिछिते की निका changes Nagaland दे changes आएवो बाल भी आएवो बिया भी आएवो ले लगा chances भी बिसी आसे होले भी if we इत्या मुआन neighboring states Assam ते साइसे गोले in terms of revenue ते साइसे गोले तो बिसी बाक्तु आगे रे serial प्राबी कोई ताइसे तो इत्या ताकन yearly ita yate mudu gorba takan itu revenue pa to age de kwan is na 3860 crore hudai sal takan passe aro 1 month te itu excise revenue bra 1 month te 100 crore takan Assam te hudai din revenue to pa ase ita to mon to revenue he nai to ekta fale saisi gole to revenue in terms of revenue mon itu ekta positive ase holibi in terms of morality noilibi Christianity la concept e saisi bole to hoy itu bi ekta advantage aro disadvantage bi ase hole bi overall judi live kurise bole to employment hoile bi aro manu ke bi ki jaga te hoile bi revenue aro employment to dibole la chances bi bisi ase ake.
All right, coming back to you, Sir Alan, we seem to be running out of time, but just in short, for the implementation of the NLTP Act, we had two very strong civil society organization, one being the NBCC and the other being the Naga Mothers Association, they were backing the NLTP Act, and that is how they were able to implement the NLTP Act of 1989. Now with the Nagaland government coming out in open and stating that they want to revisit the NLTP Act in the upcoming monsoon session, do you believe that such hue and cry will, do you feel that the CSOs will come out again and express their dissatisfaction over the state government's action, especially with regarding to revisiting the NLTP Act?
Is that question for me, Akive?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Now what we can expect is three things. First thing, we will be hearing from the church community and they will be issuing their letters of protest. First thing. Second thing, if at all the act is lifted, there will be thousands and thousands of big shots, ministers and uncles and aunties, everyone demanding a licensing right. Yes. Third, if there will be revenue, if the government lifts this act, who is going to keep a watch on that revenue? Who is going to use it?
Yes. All right, sir. That was pretty short and pretty concise. Thank you so much, both Adona and Saral, for joining me on today's On Live and speaking about the issue of the NLA, or rather the Nagaland cabinet planning to revisit the NLTP Act of 1989 in the upcoming monsoon session. Thank you so much. Well, that was both our associate editor and our reporter, Adona, and we got the point of view of both of what the public is saying, especially with regard to NLTP Act being revisited in the upcoming monsoon session. तो एना हुआब्रा इते नागा मनुखान सोप रुखिए से कि इतु 27th August दे कैबिनेट खान ब्रा नागालैंड लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली दे इतुला ऊपर दे कोथा कुरा दो कुंदु डायरेक्शन दे जावले से आरो सपोज पार्शली लिफ्ट खान भी हुइसे कुले इतु लगा स्क्रूटनी नोइल भी कुन ब्रा इतु चेक करवो इतुला भी एक ता डाउन क्वेश्चन मार्क असे इतु नोइगना गवर्नमेंट ला साइड प्रातो ताखान बा ऑलरेडी कुई दिसे ताखान की करवो लेसे इतु अपकमिंग सेशन दे आजीब्रा नोइल भी सेशन शुरू नोआ तक इतना सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस खान भी ताखान ला पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू नोइल भी इतु नागालैंड सरकार बा एनागा कुरो क्वादो ताखान भी की कोले से इतुए सावले रुखी गिना से हॉर्नबिल टीवी बा इतुला ऊपर दे लाइव अपडेट्स आरो ऑल द लेटेस्ट अपडेट्स खान आनी थाकियो तो साइते भी हॉर्नबिल टीवी